Okay. I took attendance already, pero las personas que llegaron tarde, just leave a comment, and I will mark you present later. Eldaris, Gabriela, Michelle. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to open a whiteboard. You should be receiving an invitation very soon. Okay. Okay, so you should be receiving a link. Okay, está en el chat. You should be also getting an email. Anyways, si acaso no lo ven, me avisan. So what I'm going to do here is, okay, ya lo hice. Okay. I'm going to write some information here. So I finished writing the test. So, so test number 2 is going to be placing next Wednesday, October, I think it's the 21st. Déjame verificar con el calendario rapidito. Yeah, the 21st. Okay. So what is going to be coming with that test? Good morning, Angelo. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a breakdown de lo que viene. So it would be the present perfect, and the present perfect progressive. We're also going to have the past perfect, we're going to also use the past participle, which is really irregular verbs. We're going to use since and for. And finally, specific time. Okay. Si se fijan, everything about this test is based on chapter 4. So everything that we're going to do for the test really está en ese documento que está en Canvas since like, I don't know how many weeks ago. So you have access to it. And okay, so I see a couple of you are joining, so you can see what I wrote on the whiteboard there. Déjame ver si puedo hacer otra página, or can I just, okay, so what I'm going to do is this. Okay. So we're not going to do the same thing we did last time. We're not going to download a PDF and edit that. That was too much work. Para hacer el examen, that was too much work for you to take the test. Hubo un par de errores en cuanto a people sending me their test and then no lo guardaban bien y después cuando vine a ver, I don't know, it was a big mess. So really, I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to put you through that again. So we're going to use Google Forms for the test. I'm assuming you guys have taken at least un cuestionario or something through Google Forms. It's really easy to use. It's really intuitive. And my favorite part is that it will give you your grades automatically. So cuando terminen el examen, you automatically see your grade. I can give you more details about the test a little bit later once class time cuando termine de discutir lo que quiero discutir hoy. So for now, we can just get started. And by the way, if you don't know about Google Forms, you don't need to download anything. And you can take it either on your computer or your phone or whatever. Like last night, cuando terminé el examen, I previewed it through the phone. Y en verdad, it was working pretty well. Okay, so let's begin working with. Okay. Let's begin working with the rest of the chapter, que con esto lo terminamos. You should be able to see my screen soon. Okay. All right. So we're going to be working with the past perfect in just a moment, but before that, we're going to do exercise 41. So we're going to read Karen's statement, and we're going to identify which sequence of events is correct. Is it A or is it B? So Karen says, Jane met me for lunch. She was so happy. She had passed her driver's test. Which of these two options is correct? Is it A, Jane talked to Karen and then she passed her test? Or is it B, Jane passed her test and then she talked to Karen?
B.
Exactly. So it would be B, Jane passed her test and then she talked to Karen. And even though this is outlined in a different way in this first sentence, logically speaking, at least in the order of events, she passed her test first and then she talked to Karen. So let's work with the past perfect tense. The past perfect tense is used when the speaker is talking about two different events at two different times in the past. One event ends before the second event happens. Okay? In sentence A, which is over here, there are two events, and both happened in the past. Jack left his apartment and Sue arrived at his apartment. So the situation is Jack left his apartment at 2. Sue arrived at his apartment at 2:15 and knocked on the door. When Sue arrived, Jack wasn't there. He had left. So show the time relationship between the two events, we use the past perfect, had left, to say that the first event, Jack leaving his apartment, was completed before the second event had occurred. And the second event, of course, is Sue arriving at his apartment. So Jack left his apartment when Sue arrived. Okay. The form or the formula for this is really just using had and the past participle. We've already touched base with this like a week or so ago. So no, let's not go too crazy with this. So Jack had left. Tenemos el verb and its past participle form, and then we have had. Okay? You can use contractions. You can make this had and just turn it into an apostrophe D and just add any sort of pronoun. So I'd, you'd, she'd, he'd, it'd, we'd, and they'd. But we're not working with contractions so far, and they won't be on the test. So pueden usarlo, pueden no usarlo, it's fine. So when before and after are used in a sentence, the time relationship is already clear. So the past perfect is often not necessary. The simple past may be used as in E and G. So examples D and E have the same meaning. Examples F and G have the same meaning. So Jack had left before Sue arrived, and Jack left before Sue arrived. Si se fijan, I'm just marking the verbs, which are in bold and also green. Sue arrived after Jack had left, and Sue arrived after Jack left. So in this one, we don't see a difference until we reach this word here. Pero I made you bigger. Okay. And si se fijan, the only difference between the simple past and the past perfect literalmente es had. That's it. You add had to it, it's automatically past perfect. It's really simple. The past perfect is more common in formal writing, such as in fiction and sentence H. Vamos a dejar que el camión pase. Okay. Stella was alone in a strange city. She walked down the avenue slowly, looking in shop windows. Suddenly, she turned her head and looked behind her. Someone had called her name. Okay? Remember that in the past perfect, it's always had and the past participle verb. Okay, so let's take a look at these exercises here. So exercise 42, it says identify which action in the past took place first and which action took place second. So it's basically the same thing we did here. Okay, we have to identify what happened first, what happened second, by reading the sentence and finding its logical sense of order. Sorry, su orden lógico. So in sentence 1, the tennis player jumped in the air for joy. She had won the match. First, she had won the match, and second, she jumped in the air. 2, before I went to bed, I checked the front door. My roommate had already locked it. First, my roommate locked the door, and second, I checked the door. So we have a couple more sentences here. I'm going to read them aloud, and you guys tell me whether or not they're first or second. Okay, so I looked for Diego, but he had left the building. Which occurred first? Was it Diego left the building, or I looked for Diego?
Diego left the building.
Diego left the building.
Okay. I will mark it in a second. Mi cargador se desconectó. Okay, there you go. Okay, so I looked for Diego, but he had left the building. You guys said that what was first?
Diego
left the building was first. And then I looked for Diego would clearly be second. Here, okay. I laughed when I saw my son. He had poured a bowl of noodles on top of his head. What happened first? I laughed, or
First, my son.
okay, so my son poured a bowl of noodles on his head would be first. And then, of course, I laughed would be second. Okay, because it makes sense. You wouldn't laugh before the funny event. Oliver arrived at the theater on time, but he couldn't get in. He had left his ticket at home.
Oliver arrived at the theater.
Okay, Oliver llegó al teatro a tiempo, pero no pudo entrar. Había dejado su boleto en casa. So what happened first? Did he leave it at home or did he arrive at the theater?
The boy left his ticket
There we go.
at home.
Because of course, cuando tú llegas al teatro, you're not going to go back home and leave your ticket. You would have to forget it first. Okay? So Oliver arrived on time, but he couldn't get in. He had left his ticket at home. Okay. I handed Betsy the newspaper, but she didn't want it. She had read it during her lunch hour. What happened first? I handed her the newspaper, or she had already read it.
She
She already read it.
Okay. Okay, so first I handed her the newspaper and then, first she read it and then I handed it to her. Exactly right. After Carl arrived in New York, he called his mother. He had promised to call her as soon as he got in. Which one came first?
Carl made a promise to his mother.
Exactly right. You don't arrive at your destination and then promise, hey, I'll call you as soon as I arrive. I mean, you can do that. You shouldn't. It's rude. Okay. So vamos a ver si se fijaron en algo. Where is it? Okay. I'm going to highlight. Okay.
They are all in perfect past.
Exactly right. So everything that came first uses the past perfect. So first had one. First had locked the door. First is Diego left the building. He had left. First, he had poured a bowl of noodles. Exactly. He had left his ticket at home. She had read. She had read the newspaper. And he made a promise to his mother. Okay? So every time that we marked something as having happened first, every single time we used the past perfect form. So it's had one, had locked, had left, had poured, had left, had read, had promised. Okay? Y recuerden, the only difference between the past perfect and the simple past is this word right here. So if you eliminated had and you just said she won, she locked, she left, she poured, he left, he read, he promised, whatever. Just by eliminating had, you make this in the simple past. Eso es algo que quiero que no se lo olvide. We're not going to do the listening. We are going to do this one here. So exercise 44, check your knowledge. We're going to edit these sentences and correct the errors in verb tense usage. My experience with English. I have been studied English for 8 years, but I still have a lot to learn. So we see here that studied is incorrect, and we have corrected it with studying. So it says, I have been studying English for 8 years, but I still have a lot to learn. So we're going to go read these sentences, and you're going to identify what the error is in the sentence, and then you're going to correct it. I think we should just do this en vivo instead of me giving you time. So just like we did the other part, I'm just going to read and you're going to tell me what the error is. So I started English classes at this school 4 weeks ago, and I am learning a lot of English since then. Okay, so does anyone have an idea of what the error is in sentence 2? I started classes at this school I started English classes at the school 4 weeks ago, and I am learning a lot of English since then. ¿En serio no saben?
Learning is learn or
No, learning is fine. There is a verb there.
La de start and love.
I started English classes. No, started is good. There is another verb in this sentence que could be changed to something else. Recuerden el bono del primer examen. So, but ya mencioné, it's not started. So what is the other verb in this sentence?
Am.
Exactly. So it is am. Okay. So what is the issue with am? Why is this incorrect?
Pues se puede poner con la rayita arriba y la M solamente.
No, we don't have to. Contract it. Pero vamos a ver. Am es a present form of the be verb, pero que estamos usando un past form. So en una oración tenemos past and we also have present. So we have to change this am to something more in the past. So we could, ¿cómo cambiamos el am a el be verb del presente a uno del pasado? So recuerden que los be verbs del presente son am, is, are. Y entonces los del pasado son ¿cuáles? Los dos que empiezan con W.
Was y were.
So was and were. Y pues como estamos hablando de I, es singular, so we're going to use was. Okay? I started English classes at the school 4 weeks ago, and I was learning a lot of English since then. We could actually change this into something that makes a little more sense, porque I was learning a lot of English since then. It implies that you're not learning English anymore. So we could say have been. I started English classes at the school 4 weeks ago, and I have been learning a lot of English since then. That would be, I think, perfect. All right, so number 3, I want to learn English since I am a child.
Otra vez el am. El de I am.
El am, okay. So el am, yes. So for this one, how could we edit this?
Was.
Was a child. Ahora, I want to learn English since I was a child. ¿Estamos bien o todavía nos falta algo? We're still missing one little thing.
Hay una parte que está en presente y una que está en pasado, pero no sé cómo.
Ok, pues identifiquemos el verbo. Aunque no un verbo de acción, it is still a verb. So, ¿qué es lo que quiere hacer esta persona desde que es niño?
Learn English.
Okay, so I want to learn English. Ahora, learn English is a verb, but there is a main verb, un verbo principal que está aquí. Estamos hablando inglés y qué es lo que esta persona está diciendo about learning English. Está diciendo que quiere, want. So let's mark want and see how we can make this. Espérate, ahora sí. How we can make this congruente with the rest of the sentence. So let's put want in its past form. Le añadimos ed. So it would be wanted. Okay, so I wanted to learn English since I was a child. That works. Since we're working with the past perfect, we could also write had wanted. I had wanted to learn English since I was a child. And this actually works pretty well. Okay, let's continue to number 4. I have been thinking about how to improve my English skills quickly since I came here, but I hadn't found a good way.
¿Quién se cambiaría pasado o se quedaría así?
Wait, casi no te escuché. ¿Cómo fue?
Came, ¿se cambiaría a pasado o se deja así?
No, came ya está en pasado.
¿No?
Porque si fuera presente sería come. So let's take a look at the other verbs. Vamos a identificarlo primero. So ustedes me dicen, what are the verbs in this sentence? So these are all verbs. This is another verb, pero ya saben que este no es. And this is another one. So out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, out of these 5 words, ya sabemos que came no es. So we still have
Al
these two.
final lo cambias por have not contraído.
Okay, we could change this one to have not, sure. Ahora ya lo tengo seleccionado. Okay. Have not or haven't. Vamos a dejarlos contracted porque ocupa menos espacio. Then I have to contract it correctly. Ahora sí. Pero. Okay, sorry. I have been thinking about how to improve my English skills quickly since I came here, but I haven't found a good way. Now, this is a pretty good sentence. It's pretty grammatical. Pero we are working with the past perfect, and this isn't the past perfect, is it? Si usamos have.
Se cambiaría a had.
Had,
Ahora sí. So en vez de hacer haven't, vamos a usar hadn't. Wait. I had been thinking. Y entonces esto. Okay, so I had been thinking about how to improve my English skills quickly since I came here, but I hadn't found a good way. Okay, we just changed one word, and then the rest of the sentence is fine. Y pues como dije, you could use have, but that would make it the present perfect. Y pues we're working with the past perfect, y no quiero que se me confundan más. So let's continue to number 5. Our teacher likes to give tests. We have 6 tests since the beginning of the term.
Have se cambiaría a had.
Okay, I heard que uno de estos dos se cambiaría a algo.
Have
Sorry,
se
es que,
cambiaría a-
okay. Has se cambiaría a. Hold on, yo creo que te escuché mal. ¿Me dijiste has o me dijiste have?
Yo dije have. Bueno,
Okay. Okay, es que there was a big truck pasando por ahí, pues ya tú sabes. Okay, so we has 6 tests since the beginning of the term. Or what do we change have to?
had.
Okay, so estás diciendo we has had. You're very close. You're very close. Te voy a dar un la. El has there we go. Oh wait. Okay. So this one here le falta una cosita más. So now our teacher likes to give tests. We had 6 tests since the beginning of the term. This is simple past. Let's make it past perfect.
have had,
Have had 6 tests since the beginning of the term. Ahí está. Our teacher likes to give tests. We have had 6 tests since the beginning of the term. Okay, that's good. Yo di clase hace par de años en una escuela privada and nos requerían dar 7 exámenes por clase por semestre. So imagine having a test every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. Era basically like that. Ugh, no vuelvo. Number 6, I like learning English. When I was young, my father found an Australian girl to teach my brothers and me English. But when I moved to another city, my father didn't find anyone to teach us.
Teach se cambia a pasado.
Excuse me. So si cambiáramos teach al pasado sería taught. When I was young, my father found an Australian girl to taught my brothers me in English. No, that wouldn't make sense. So ese no sería teach. Let's look for another verb. Okay. Están buscando un verbo, and this verb is in present.
I think it's moved.
Ahí está. Okay. Okay, so en este, we're going to change move to what?
To moved.
Exactamente. I like learning English. When I was young, my father found an Australian girl to teach my brothers and me English, but when I moved to another city, my father didn't find anyone to teach us. Esta S es rarita, pero una E. Okay, that's pretty much it for that one. Hay otra cosa aquí, but that's not really relevant to our topic right now, porque es un poquito más avanzado. Pero esto de my brothers and me, se pudiera decir my brothers and I, que sería un poquito más grammatically correct, pero eso es un tema para quizás la próxima clase de inglés, like básico 3 or whatever comes after this one. Number 7, I meet many friends in this class. I meet Abdul in the cafeteria on the first day. He was friendly and kind. We are friends since that day. There is 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences. 3 of those sentences tienen un errorcito.
The first one is I have met instead of meet.
Okay. So en vez de meet, vamos a decir I have met or I met. Okay. Have met. Fantastic. I have met many friends in this class. I meet Abdul in the cafeteria on the first day. He was friendly and kind. We are friends since that day.
Again, the meet, I think is...
For this one, we can just leave it simple. Just write met.
Yeah.
And that would be fine. Ahora, de las otras dos oraciones, which one needs correcting, which one doesn't?
vez de we are, we were friends.
We were friends since that day. Pero el usar were implica de que ya no lo somos.
I will say we've been friends.
There you go. Have. Wait, I didn't even click it. We have been friends since that day. Okay. So I have met many friends in this class. I met Abdul in the cafeteria on the first day. He was friendly and kind. We have been friends since that day. Okay, that's good. And finally, y con esto terminamos el capítulo. Abdul have been studying English for 3 months. His English is better than mine.
Studying.
Okay, Abdul studying. Okay, Abdul have been studying English for 3 months. His English is better than mine. Is that perfect o le falta alguna cosita?
Have se queda así o se cambia a have.
El have, si se fijan, have es plural y Abdul es una sola persona. So instead of using have, usamos...
Had.
Bueno, sí, exacto. Sería had. Aunque si usamos el had been studying for 3 months, his English is better than mine, implica que ya no está estudiando inglés. Maybe he's dead, maybe he's just learned it. But this is what we want to work with, had been studying. Or you could also use has been studying English for 3 months and his English is better than mine. Podemos dejarlo así mismo. I don't want to imply that he's dead, so vamos a dejarlo así. Okay, so there's about 10 minutes left. So como les mencioné más temprano, the parts that are going to be coming on the test are the present perfect progressive, the past perfect, the past participle, which is really irregular verbs, since and for, and specific time. So voy a señalarle algunas cositas aquí en el... Wait, am I presenting? Yes, I am. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of the chapter, and I'm going to highlight a couple of things here. So this is basically coming on the test. So what you're going to do here is, actually I could just do this here. Hold on. I have this written down elsewhere, so it's fine. So what I'm asking you to do here is I am going to, where's my drawing pad? Okay. So I'm going to give you a verb. Let's say, and then there's going to be a table here, and it's going to ask you, is it simple form, is it simple past, or is it past participle? And then there's going to be a little box below it, and you're going to basically mark it as correct or incorrect. So if we're asking for the verb stay, and it's asking us whether it's simple form, simple past, or past participle, como pueden ver aquí, each verb is below what it is. So en este caso sería el simple form. So in this case, I would rajaría la papeleta con el stay en simple form. Entonces I could give you another verb. Let's say que te doy worked. No, vamos con este que tiene 3 opciones. Go, went, gone. So let's say I'm giving you gone. I know que están medio feitas, but these are basically check boxes. And why is this? I zoomed in sin querer. Okay. So gone, would it be simple form, would it be simple past, or would it be past participle? Pues si usted no recuerda, where's my book? Italy. This information is available in the book. Y ustedes lo tienen también en Canvas, but in the book, it would be this inner cover and this back cover, okay? So you just basically look for the verb, and then you just identify it de acuerdo donde está en la tabla. So in this one, we used gone. So tenemos aquí go, went, y gone. Y gone is below past participle. So, of course, gone is past participle. ¿Dónde está? Mírala ahí. And one more. Okay. So tenemos see, saw, and está en blanco. So it's seen en este caso. So I'm going to ask for saw. Okay, and since we already know that saw is below, caramba, hold on. We already know that saw is below the simple past form, and we're going to mark it as simple past. Okay, todo esto verificando that list that I showed you. That list is also available on Canvas, so you don't have to use the book specifically. Okay, so that was the past participle, which is really irregular verbs. Let's continue over here. So, It's basically the same thing. You're just gonna have one of these three verbs, and you're gonna identify it as either simple form, simple past, or past participle. No me dejé llevar de lo que está aquí. I just chose randomly from that list that I showed you in the inner covers. So yeah, so we have since and we have for. Remember that since is followed by the mention of a specific point in time, and for is followed by the mention of a length of time. So esto es un punto específico en el tiempo. So since 8 o'clock, since Tuesday, since yesterday. But for uses like a length of time for 10 minutes, for 2 hours, for 5 days. Okay? You're going to have a couple of sentences there. Let's say, we have been friends. We have been friends blank, we were kids. Do we use since or do we use for? Pues vamos a leerla. We have been friends since we were kids. We have been friends for we were kids. So obviously for doesn't make any sense there. So en este caso sería since. Now, if we were to change some parts of this sentence, and instead of saying since we were kids, we could say hi. Yeah, that needs to be bigger. So we have been friends blank 10 years. En este caso, well, let's read them both. We have been friends since 10 years. We have been friends for 10 years. En este caso, since doesn't make any sense, so it would be for. Okay? So tienen que estar pendiente. If you just read those sentences aloud and see which one makes the most sense. Por lo menos, the way I wrote those sentences, there should be no confusion. They should be pretty clear. Okay, o es for o es since. You know, you can't really use them interchangeably. Apart from that, we have the past participle since for. We have specific time. Para eso lo próximo. Okay, we're not going to do negatives, questions, and short answers. Forget about that. Don't even look at it. Okay, we're gonna work with unspecified time. Bueno, let's see if I can find that table que estaba por acá un poquito más para abajo. Esto viene ya mismito también, but aquí. So basically this one about specific time viene like this. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of sentences and you're going to identify which ones are specific. So en este caso sería last week, last month, whoa, 2008. All of these are specific, and that's really all I'm asking you to identify. Obviamente, pues, it's not going to be these sentences, it's going to be different sentences. And basically, you're not going to see this second part of the table. You're just going to see the instructions that say only mark the sentences which are which use specific time. Y entonces you just, mark it. You just select it with a check mark, and that's pretty much it for specific time. Lo que nos faltaría es, ¿dónde está? Aquí. Wait, no. Okay, so the simple past versus the present perfect. So simple past versus present perfect. So in simple past, I finished my work 2 hours ago, and the present perfect, I have already finished. Okay, so tienen que estar pendiente. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of sentences, and I'm going to tell you in the instructions que tienen que leer cuidadosamente. The instructions are going to ask, hey, you're going to have a series of sentences, and you're going to identify which one of these are in the simple past. So en este caso, let's say simple past, I was in Europe last year. Okay, and in the present perfect, basically the same idea, but I'm just going to ask you specifically for this. Bob has been in Miami. Okay, basically you're just going to be looking for the verbs and identifying them as that. Okay, no se preocupen que el lunes we're going to be reviewing this with, como hicimos la otra vez, con ejercicios que no son los mismos que vienen en el examen, but they will be the same format. So whatever you do for the review, that is the same thing you'll be working with for the test. So tenemos el simple past y el present perfect. Nos faltaría el present perfect progressive. Okay? And basically the present perfect progressive is using have or has plus been plus the main verb ending with ing. So they have been driving, he has been sitting, have been sitting, etc., etc. Okay? Y para este, it's actually, I think it's the simplest one. So all you're going to see is a sentence like, okay, so you're going to see a sentence, you're going to see this blank. You're going to have basically 4 options. And let's say is jumping. That's a G. Has jumped. Yo sé que me pasé por un minutito, but just give me 1 minute and we can finish this. Is jumping, has jumped, and has. Ay, whatever, lo repetí, pero no importa. Because that's not even right. So I'm asking you to identify, to complete the sentence in the present perfect progressive. Okay? So which one of these 4 options, que en verdad son 3 because this one se repitió, which one of these 4 options is the present perfect progressive? And this one is jumping, sería el present progressive, so este no es. Este de has jumped sería el past perfect, so estas no son. So really, the correct answer would be has been jumping. Y vamos a verificar con la fórmula. So usamos have plus been plus the main verb with ing. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Of course, pues vamos a estar practicando esto con más calma el lunes. And time is up, so I guess that's okay for now. Si tienen alguna duda, pues recuerden que my office hours begin a las 9:30. You know where to find me. Thank you guys for staying the extra 2 minutes. Thank you for your attention, and I will see you on Monday. Okay, have a nice day, everybody. Okay, recuerden que si llegaron tarde, asegúrense de dejar un mensaje en el chat so I can mark you present. So, the last one que yo apunté fue Yelianis, si no me equivoco, because I do have it. Yeliani Alex, exacto. So sería Ildalis, que está aquí. O Ildalis, I don't know. Gabriela is here. Michelle is here. Angelo llegó. Josué. Yo lo tenía marcado, ok. Joniel. Lisanji ya la tenía, yes. Omar. Gabriela, I think I already got her. Guillermo, pretty sure I didn't have him. Mira, sí. Yeleni, sí. Liz Mari también. Okay, so me queda Alondra, Liz Mari y Génesis. Déjame ver. Luis, Odalis, Natalie, Robert, Swanady. Okay.